So we went from maybe to most likely, and then what's the next incident in which Michael Rapaport and all these other Democrat celebrities are going to be like, finally, yeah, you know what? We're voting Trump. Screw the Democrats. You did something wrong. We gave you a chance. You're doing nothing. And so I'll just jump in also real quick on the topic of conversation with like celebrities, like we were talking about with Rachel offline and everything, and so I think there was also either 50 Cent that put it on Instagram,
Yes,
Twitter,
I saw
saying
that.
like he's mentioning all the things that was going on, and then Little Nippy said like, yeah, vote for Trump, and I think it's funny going back talking about Michael Rapaport back in November when during Veterans Day weekend he saw the pro-Palestine demonstrators, protesters take out U.S. flags, and then that was the first instance on Instagram, Twitter that he was saying like, you know what, I still don't like Trump, but maybe I'll vote for him. Like he's on the table, and
Oh,
now it's February now, and so he sees what the two New York cops be beaten down by some migrants who were only to be arrested and let go like the following day. I forgot the whole thing, but they were just let go. And then he's like, "How are you gonna do that? How are you gonna be a migrant
they like
and be
them.
beating up these New York police? How is this possible?" And so now he went back on Twitter saying, "You know what? Trump is now on the table."
Voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table. Voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table. The other day in New York City, 6 illegal aliens jumped a New York City cop, NYPD's finest. They jumped a New York City cop in Times Square and were arrested and released without bail. I know it's a city thing. I know it's a state thing. I know all that. I know all that. I know all that. Okay? Stay with me. Released without bail. Came out of the courtroom on some Tupac raising the middle finger with the Detroit Red Wings jersey. Let me tell you something. What the fuck is the world coming to? If you could be from another country, beat up a cop in New York City, and walk out with no bail, what the is the world coming to? What the is the world coming to?
So we went from maybe to most likely, and then what's the next incident in which Michael Rapaport and all these other Democrat celebrities are going to be like, finally, yeah, you know what, we're voting Trump. Screw the Democrats. You did something wrong. We gave you a chance. You're doing nothing. And so like with the whole like Taylor Swift, and I agree with Rachel. I think it's a nothing burger. They're trying to push. Like she's already voting left, like we already know this. Like how many more voters are going to be swinging for be influenced by Taylor Swift? I mean, sure, maybe a few, but I think we're at a point where you already make up your mind. Like she's not going to swing more voters to her. She's just going to kind of like amplify the people that are already anti-Trump anyway, right? And so
So, Mitch, you're saying it's baked in the cake, right?
yeah, yeah,
And that's
yeah.
pretty much how I feel about this election. I don't see any dynamics really changing things from now until November.
I agree with Mark, and I think it'd be funny if a lot of right wing conservative celebrities will play Taylor Swift as they're voting for Trump, like just to in spite of her. And I think
There
it's a
you
good
go.
point for like Joe Coy, like even though he's not in the mess of all this stuff, I think the fact that he inadvertently made a joke to Taylor Swift had a chink in that armor, because like we were saying with
Yep.
Joe Coy, it showed like Taylor Swift like she's not of the people, she's an elitist, right? And people were starting to like, hey, like the joke wasn't about Taylor Swift, like the joke wasn't about, was
Or
about the
NFL.
NFL, right? And so I think that kind of like set this whole thing up in which like people are questioning Taylor Swift. Like again, if you like her, you like her, but again, what we're saying is like she's not going to sway any voters right now. Like people are already having their mindset, and one great thing going into these elections is that again we have what we didn't have in 2020 is Twitter. Like now that we have a free speech platform, we have Twitter, and then again we have during an election year, New York Times, LA Times are laying off a lot of the employees, and of course like BuzzFeed, HuffPost, Vice, they're all going bankrupt, and so we don't have much of a journalism machine that's going to be churning out a lot of things that a lot of people were saying. Like, we even had, talking about Bill Maher, we have Seth MacFarlane saying like, oh, I trust the mainstream media, I trust these journalists, and even Bill Maher is like saying, well, they put out fake news, and then Seth MacFarlane was, well, that's a generalization, and Bill Maher clap back saying, well, it's generally true. That's begins.
You seem to trust journalists more than I do.
I trust certain journalists, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Certain ones I do. Yeah. Not a lot. And
not a lot?
No. And everything I read, whatever source, it's only half the truth. They print the narrative. They don't print truth.
That's a generalization, though.
Well, it is, but it's because it's generally true.
Really?
Yeah, they print the side of the story.
By the way, that's exactly what Donald Trump wants.
So I think it's funny, and so there's a lot of things that's going well for the 2024 election for Trump. Obviously, we shouldn't rest on that, right? We should always vote, pretend that he's not leading the polls and everything. And so, but it is very interesting what's going on. And obviously, the things that are happening in the border, and like what's happening in that bill, I forgot that was trying to be passed through the Senate. I forgot what was the details about it, but apparently, and then this is what the left are saying, like, oh, Republicans are blocking the bill, but like if you look into it, from what I understand, is they throw Ukraine in there, putting money to Ukraine, and so like last time I checked, Ukraine wasn't a territory. Well, to the left, I'm sure, and to Hunter Biden and the establishment, sure, Ukraine is a colony or something, but like for the rest of Americans, Ukraine is not a border of the USA. So.